Bryce Harper in pinstripes. Realistic dream or disguised trap? There's an image that's lived rent-free in the minds of baseball fans for years. Bryce Harper, pinstripes. A packed Yankee stadium. The crowd on its feet. That scenario existed for a long time, only in the realm of fantasy, the kind of late-night conversation between fans that mixes hope with a little wishful thinking. But something shifted, and when context changes, what was once fantasy starts taking on the shape of real possibility. The question is, does real possibility mean the right decision? Let's start with the facts. Dave Dombrowski, president of baseball operations for the Philadelphia Phillies, publicly evaluated Bryce Harper right after the team's playoff elimination, a division series loss to the Dodgers. And what he said was no compliment. He's still a quality player. He still has the ability to be an all-star, but he didn't have an exceptional season like he's had in the past. Reading it cold, it sounds harmless. But in baseball, like in any high-performance environment, there's a code, a basic principle: internal problems stay internal. When a front office goes public with an assessment of its highest-paid player, right after a painful elimination, that's not an accident. That's a message. Harper understood it, and he didn't like it. At spring training, he was direct. When we first met with this organization, they said, "Look, we're always going to keep everything in-house, and we expect you guys to do the same." So when that didn't happen, I was a little thrown off. Thrown off. A carefully chosen phrase from someone who weighs every word. Not anger, not a threat. Something deeper, a breach of trust. And a breach of trust between a player of this magnitude and his franchise rarely gets fixed with a single conversation. That's where the Yankees come in, or at least, where the Yankees could come in. Ina Zager of Pinstripes Nation was direct in her assessment. Yankees fans have been fantasizing about Bryce Harper wearing the pinstripes since the day he debuted in the big leagues. That dream has never been closer to reality. And she adds, with equal honesty, that it's also never been more complicated, because Harper has a full no-trade clause. He chose Philadelphia in 2019, when he could have gone to several clubs, including very likely New York. That was a conscious decision, loaded with meaning. A declaration of loyalty to a city, a fan base, a project. So the real question isn't whether the Yankees want Harper. It's whether Harper would want the Yankees now, and whether the friction with Dombrowski has reached the point where that kind of move becomes psychologically viable for him. His 2025 numbers tell a story worth reading carefully. Harper posted in .844 OPS, respectable by any standard, but his lowest since 2016. His 3.1 WAR was the sixth lowest of a 14-year career. Is he declining? Or is he going through a natural cycle? A 33-year-old athlete, still producing at a high level, just no longer at the absurd peaks of his prime. That distinction matters enormously, because the Yankees wouldn't be acquiring Harper at 28. They'd be taking on 6 more years of contract, $23.5 million per season, for a player already in the back half of his career with an injury history. In a league where time shows no mercy. The money, by the way, is the second concrete obstacle in this equation. The Yankees already carry the third largest payroll in MLB, valued at over $333 million according to Spotrac. Adding Harper would push them dangerously close to the second-place Mets and would represent a long-term commitment that Hal Steinbrenner would need to endorse with full conviction. Steinbrenner isn't his father. He operates with more caution, more calculation, and in an off-season that Aaron Judge, normally the most composed of leaders, has already criticized publicly for its lack of moves. The internal pressure is real. But pressure isn't the same thing as wisdom. This is where the strategic analysis has to be honest. Harper batting alongside Judge in the same lineup would be devastating for any opposing pitching staff. A right-handed and left-handed hitter back-to-back both with power and the ability to change a game with a single swing. Harper himself mentioned being excited to play next to Judge in the World Baseball Classic, and once those two started sharing the same field, speculation naturally picked up fuel. But the question the Yankees need to answer internally goes beyond Harper's talent. It's about philosophy. Are the Yankees building something, or are they trying to buy a shortcut? Because a shortcut at $23.5 million a year for 6 years, carrying the emotional weight of a complicated exit from Philadelphia, could be the anchor that sinks the ship instead of steadying it. 3 questions that deserve serious debate. If Harper arrived in the Bronx as the result of a falling out with his former franchise, and not by genuine choice, how would that affect his performance on the field and his integration with the clubhouse? Does the current Yankees roster have the profile that actually complements Harper, or would they simply be adding a big name without fixing the real gaps that exist on this team? Is the precedent of taking on long contracts for players in gradual, even if still high-level, decline the model that leads to championships, or is it what keeps a franchise permanently competitive but never quite over the top? In the end, what makes this story fascinating isn't just Harper, it's what it reveals about where the Yankees are right now. A franchise with an unmatched tradition, the most demanding fan base in the sport, in a period of genuine restlessness. Aaron Judge has already spoken up. The offseason has been too quiet. And now, almost as if the baseball universe wanted to test the Bronx faithful one more time, the most symbolic name possible emerges as a real possibility. Bryce Harper, the player who never came, the what could have been. Maybe the timing is finally right. Maybe this is a shiny distraction from deeper problems. What's certain is that whatever decision gets made, if one gets made at all, it will say far more about who the Yankees are than about who Bryce Harper can still be.